Welcome to Epic Conquerors. Your host, Dr. Judy Bauer and Chad Smanjack. You are epic. Everything is possible in Christ. The battle is real. The victory is assured.
Welcome to all our Epic Conquerors, and thank you for joining Mama J and myself on the Epic Conquerors podcast. Today we're going to continue with part two of our, I won't call it a series, but part two of the topic that we're on, which is starting 2021 Epic Strong. Mama J, how you doing?
You know what? This is it's the first week of 2021. I mean, how amazing is that? We've already passed through now. Wonder how many amazing things have happened since everybody's Monday and today on Friday. What's happening this week?
Yeah, it's we're already done with Christmas and all that's already in the history books. And yeah, we are starting 2021, which is going to be amazing, Mama J. It's going to be an amazing year.
Yes, it is. I really believe that this is a year of break every chain, break every chain. You know, that song that was sung so strongly the last several years. I think this year is going to be a year of release and a breakthrough and a break every chain. And so I'm looking forward to this year.
I'm looking forward to it too. It feels like 2021 was the year of all the chains, of the final chains. And I think 2021, I had that visual of it just breaking.
Yes.
And like you said, I think you shared it with us, just the water clearing out, the muddy water. And we just starting to see like the beautiful crystal clear vision starting to come to the surface. So
I don't remember sharing that, but I'll take it if you say so.
Yeah, I think it was something that you shared with me. Now that I think about it, they're talking about,
I see. That's right.
How the waters have all been so muddied, and they're even more muddy than ever. But as we slowly but surely, it starts to clear up as we move into 2021. Okay. I'm definitely not making any predictions because we know that my predicting is not that good. But I do feel
we can always learn to be a better predictor. But
I do feel that we're coming into 2021 epic strong. We left 2020 strong.
Yes.
And yeah, we are. So, Mama J, last episode we spoke about basically what our topic is, the three things that we're focusing on, each one of us, for starting 2021 so that we can start epic strong. Because we always know momentum's everything. So you want to carry that momentum from how we finished 2020, we want to carry it into 21. So we discussed, we went through, and my first one was spirituality, doubling down on my relationship with God, which I feel so important. And every time I do that, I feel so connected. Life is good.
Yes.
You spoke of your number one was?
Surrendering to God and then fighting the good fight of faith. So we surrender first, and then we get up and we fight because we're empowered by His grace to conquer and overcome. So, and that all is born out of that doubling down in our relationship with God. So it really dovetailed nicely.
Yeah, that was basically like what I said, the two-edged sword. And then that moves into your number two, which was flexibility, being flexible.
Mine was be flexible. Yeah. Blessed are the flexible. And then your number two is really good because this does require flexibility.
Well, you said I need to stretch myself like a rubber band. So yeah, you go.
There you go. Come on, share it with us, Chad. What's your number two?
So number two is human relationships with real human beings.
Yes,
and that is definitely something that requires some stretching. And the points that I highlighted when I was writing the notes was get out of my comfort zone and turning things upside down. Because I think 2020 was really, I don't want to use the word comfort zone because it was so crazy and there's so much going on, but we definitely slotted into a comfort zone in the sense of being at home in our pajamas and, not brushing, just
solitude.
Solitude, feeling like not even feeling guilty if you never communicated with other people because it was almost expected not to come in. Just so many things were just like, I can just hibernate in my little cocoon, and eat M&Ms and watch TV, and no one, and it's actually not even considered bad. So for me, it's like breaking through that, breaking chains.
Yeah, and I think for so many different personalities like yours, and then, I used to be extremely shy and bashful. People thought I was stuck up. They can't imagine that now when they know me today, but that's because I've really worked on that part of myself. But we, as a human being, as humanity, we do have a tendency to like to just close in, us for and no more idea. And it's really important, like you said, to develop personal relationships, but it's going to require something coming out of our comfort zone, because we get
Definitely.
really comfy with ourselves.
And I like my own company too.
Yes, exactly. Me too. I do too. My own company. I love it.
And part of that is reaching out to friends, family, and community. And where that came up, I was just the other day just scrolling through my phone, going like, "Why have I got all these names in my phone? Like, there's just so many names." And I was thinking, like, I don't even speak to any of these people. And not that I want to speak to all of them, but I was just scrolling through, just going like, "Wow, I haven't reached out to that person, or I haven't spoken to that person," and then you justify, "Well, they haven't called me," and you go through the whole process. So I'm just feeling that reaching out to friends, maybe making a list and just touching base with them. How you doing? What's going on? Just we don't know what their life situation is, and perhaps maybe they just need God's like preempting you to just open up and just listen to them. Not necessarily call them and for whatever, but just call them and say, "Hey, how are things going?" Just open up a conversation.
Right. I think that's so important too, Chad, because that is something you have to actually do on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's not a natural tendency to just want to like be in everybody's business, so to speak. And I think that's how sometimes we maybe take it as well. I don't want to be all busybody about everybody's business, but it's not that. It's just touching base so that we touch heart to heart, and we know that somebody cares for us. Somebody is noticing us. Somebody's aware of us. We're important to somebody. All those things fill our emotional tank. So I always kind of reflect back, how God reached out first. And so if God is in us, he's going to want to reach out through us first to others. I know someone a few months back, I was doing a Zoom Bible study for a Bible study group. And this one gal said, "I just realized I get so tired of always being the one to reach out and people don't reciprocate." And as she said it, I just heard this little petulant child, huffing and puffing, having a little temper tantrum. Just that was the image that came in my mind. And then I thought, but in my mind, I'm still thinking, but God is the one that's prompting us to reach out. And how often does he reach out to us and we don't reciprocate and communicate back with him, and I'm sure he's like, "Come on, people, let's have a conversation." So I think, like you said, reaching out to friends and family and community on purpose, it stretches us, and it's really healthy, and it's very healing as well for us as well as them.
Yeah, definitely. So that's definitely going to be on the list. And like you said, it's going to have intent behind it. So I'm going to need to purposely actually schedule that to make that happen, because it's not in my natural flow of the day to just start reaching out to people. The other thing I thought as well is just deep and meaningful communications. I mean, Mama J, you and I used to walk around and spend 4 or 5 hours just walking talks, and that was so enriching and so amazing. It just like filled your spirit up. It made you feel alive. You got to share stuff, and that communication, which unfortunately has been very lacking based on the situation that we've been experiencing. So however that looks, but just having rekindling and bringing back some of those communications and those conversations.
And it's true that it takes time to do that. I mean, you can't just really have a meaningful conversation in 30 minutes or half an hour. I mean, sometimes you can if it's crisis mode or something. But to really be able to get down through the layers and really get heart to heart, it takes a while to do the dance, if you will, to bring it to a place where you can just really feel comfortable and safe and ready to just open up and bare your soul a little bit. And that's where, I tell you, wonderful things take place in that. So yeah, that's a real good key. I don't know, some people probably have never really experienced that. So that might be a good goal for them for 2021, is to purposefully put themselves in a position for 3-4 uninterrupted hours to just hang out with somebody that you like and just have a conversation happen and see where it will take you.
Yeah, I definitely highly recommend that. It was something that I wasn't used to. And the first 30 minutes, it's Mama Jow just really, it's the unwind and kind of putting all your boundaries, your barriers down and opening up. And then it obviously helps when you have someone that's a skilled communicator like yourself.
Woo-hoo.
And then, then after that, like you said, you just really get into a conversation that's meaningful, deep, and really healing, which is good.
And I think too, Chad, if we talk about this for a moment, I think for many people, the reason they don't enjoy that maybe so much, or have now put all their cards close to their chest, so to speak, is because when they have shared themselves in other situations, perhaps that got trampled on, or, hurt came as a result of that vulnerability, and so on and so forth. So we kind of survival mode just pulled in and said, no way, I'll just keep everything to myself. Thank you very much. And so to try to bring healing to that, to let there be, again, that freedom to share your heart, that's a wonderful gift that we give to one another. So yeah, that's really powerful. I'm glad you put that on your list.
I think part of my number two for human relationships, I'm just going to dive down into this one, which was expanding the reach of the ministries. So the ministerial work, like the podcast and things that we're doing, just having a look at new opportunities and being open to hear from God and to hear from our community and everyone else, how we can reach more people and obviously help create this community in a bigger way, be more active in it, and just, engage and help spread the word a little bit, and give people a platform to hear their voice and to communicate with everyone.
Beautiful. I love that one so much. That is important, because the more we make connectors with one another, the stronger we are as a body of people, and the more we can actually accomplish, the more that we are connected with real connection to one another, not a pseudo connection or a fake connection, like a lot of things that happen on social media is very fake. But when you have real connections, there's something very strong about that helps us be epic strong.
And today we have to find a new way to make those strong connections, like you said, because for me, I'm not a very big fan of social media, but I'm starting to realize that we live in a world today now where, it's just becoming part of our lives, and we have to learn how to develop those relationships in ways through social media, because, life's changing. It's in flux.
Yeah.
So, like you said, blessed are the flexible.
There you go. Woo-hoo, that number 2 one came in good. Right
well,
here.
With that number 2, we're going to roll right into your number 3, Mama J. What is your number 3 for starting 2021?
My number 3 thing, Chad, to be epic strong, sounds like another oxymoron, almost like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth again, but it's keep on keeping on and be ready to pivot when needed. It's like, how do you do that? How do you keep on keeping on, holding steady, and then yet be ready to pivot when needed? But, I just thought that that's such an important part to remember for 2021, because walking by faith, I've discovered in my many, 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 many years of doing this, it's like a balancing act on a high wire. You have that long pole that helps you keep your balance, and you wobble a little bit, but you're still steady. You're ready to pivot if you need to. And it might take us a while to get a hang of how to do these two things simultaneously. But as you develop that relationship, like what was your number 1, deeper with God, as he speaks to you and gives you instructions, then you can move forward on that, and you'll find that balance of when to keep on keeping on, but knowing when to pivot, because sometimes God's trying to reposition you. So if we're not going to pivot, then sometimes we have to get pruned or stripped for repositioning, and that's a little bit more painful. So I want to just be ready to pivot if I need to pivot. I don't want to have to keep on keeping on so strong. I remember this experience we had where the Lord asked us to release something, and it was like prying our fingers off, because we were holding on to it so tight. And so I try to remember that, don't hold on so tight to something that when it's time to change direction, you're not willing to let go and make the move.
Yeah, well, the keep on keeping on, that's definitely a Mama J Judaism. And being ready to pivot when needed. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that when you look at it, because the keeping on is just something that we do, right, Mama J? That's something that's ingrained in us. We just got to get up every morning and just believe God's got it and keep walking, even in the midst, regardless of the circumstances. And many times it's not the way you feel. But
Yeah.
it's also the wisdom comes in if you just keep keeping on, and you get so, tunnel vision that
Yeah.
you stop
That's a
even
good
hearing
way.
from God then, and you just keep, again, using that analogy, you keep walking around the mountain, just thinking, well, I'm just going to keep keeping on. So having the what do you call it,
The
the
grace
fortitude,
to pivot.
and then having the wisdom and grace to pivot,
Yeah.
realize, well, God's taking me in a different direction.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we believing for that, we get a word or someone speaks a word of your life, whatever it might be, and it's like, wow, that's where I'm going, and you get so focused on that, you keep keeping on to that point, but things change, and then it's like we say in the business world, the data changes, you got to change the situation, and
Yeah.
sometimes God realizes that things have to move in this direction, and then you've got to be open to do that.
Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, if something's not working, then you need to pivot. And sometimes because that's an unknown that we're going into, then that's what scares us a little bit to make the pivot, because you first have to let go of the shoreline before you can get to the other side of the lake, right? And that's that journey in between that we're all like, yeah, so it's that pivoting is a scary spot right there. But
Yep.
out of that place comes creativity to think differently, to think outside the box, to get a new thought that God can drop into you, a new way that nobody's ever thought of before. Where do we think inventions have come from, right? That are a blessing to us today, but they came out of people being frustrated with they couldn't manage their crops. So we were watching this show the other day. So back in the 100 years ago or so, they found that motorcycle motors, if they used the motor of the motorcycle, they could put a belt on it and it could power a thing that could then sow their seed and stuff and take the place of needing more workers in the field. So it created another whole realm of business and work and manufacturing and everything else, because somebody had this bright idea out of this angst of, I just don't have enough help to get these fields plowed and so on and so forth. So that's my thought on that. What do you think?
No, I absolutely 100% agree.
Yeah.
And you have the scripture you have here is 2 Timothy 4:1-5. And it says, in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, I give you this charge. Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season.
Yep.
So
that's the part that I liked right
there.
there. Be prepared in season and out. And he gave us that charge, he said. So that's a strong word, to remind us to steady as you go, keep on keeping on. But even if it's out of season, be ready to pivot then if you need to do it different. And otherwise, you're, again, which was my number 2, your stubbornness and everything, if you're not flexible, won't allow that for you. So all of these kind of dovetail together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I liked how it carried on to say there in verse 5, though, Chad, it says, but you keep your head in all situations. So I thought that was really an important part of that too, is just remember who God is and who he is in you, and know you're going to make it. So don't be afraid. Just keep on keeping on and pivot.
and I like the way you put it there, because that's what it truly is, right? Pivot is the idea of being stripped for repositioning.
Yeah.
So I think that's a powerful concept right there. Sometimes you just, God's preparing you and stripping you down because he has something new. He is God at the end of the day, so he can make up his mind and change it whenever he wants.
And sometimes there's areas of our life that we feel like are going well. And then all of a sudden it gets chopped off and we're like, what in the world? This was doing well. But sometimes the great husbandman, the gardener, Jesus, comes in and he prunes that thing away, cuts it off. And you're like, I don't understand this. This was really actually doing a good thing. But the scripture shows us that when you are pruned in the right places, then you actually will end up bearing more richer, fuller fruit. So God's intention is to bless you abundantly even more than that. But initially it feels like, wait, what?
Well, I'm going that way. Yeah. That's where you want me to be, right?
There's the necessity for the pivot. A new branch shoots out, a new thought, a new creativity comes forward, and you go, oh, I never thought of that before. Because if, like you said, if you kept your head in that tunnel, you never would have thought that way. But because you got out of the tunnel for a minute, you had room for a new thought, an idea to take place and take root.
Yeah, perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, moving to my number 3, Mama Jan.
Yes. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 leads on from, so number 2 was human relationships. My number 3 is myself. Right?
Yeah, relationship with you. Yeah.
My own relationship, exactly. And that's sometimes the toughest relationship right there.
Yeah, it can be for sure.
Because you got to do a deep dive, and you really got to start to look and see what's working, what's not working, what's triggering you, what doesn't trigger you. And I think some of the things I put in there was, just to really do a review and look back at 2020 and just take a look at some of the things that I felt were, draining me, or, identify people like that were perhaps draining you. Sometimes there's individuals in your life that when you're around them, you just feel completely sucked.
Yeah.
All the energy just sucked right out of you. So just be mindful of that, looking back on that, looking back at what activities do I want to do? What activities inspired me in 2020? What activities gave me, revitalized me, gave me energy? Yeah. So these are all things that I think it's really like on self-analysis and just your relationship with yourself.
Yeah. And it's different than like making a New Year's resolution to do what you're suggesting here, because a New Year's resolution, typically, I don't remember what the stats are so much, but they only last like 2 or 3 days. But what you're talking about here is to just do some really for real self-reflection on and discovering things about yourself, because you might actually pivot into something even more exciting if you actually took the time to evaluate these things. Like you said, what drains you, but what energizes you? What are those things? And figure it out.
Yeah, just take a look at it and look back at your year and then find the good out of it and carry it forward to help carry that momentum.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Romans 12:11 says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. So that's an admonition for us in a way to do like what you're talking about, take a self dive into things of your life so that you can weed out the things that would cause you to lack in your zeal or your passion for God. And he says to keep your spiritual fervor. So that's on us to do. We have to keep fanning the flame and keep ourselves white hot in our walk with God and others and ourselves. And that's enough work for anybody to keep them busy and not have time to meddle in somebody else's business untoward, But the caveat of all of that is serving the Lord with that passion and zeal, and all of these other things. Like you said, they can suck the life of God right out of us as well. That's the enemy's intention. So it's up to us to fight the good fight of faith and not let that happen.
Fight the good fight of faith. So let's have a look at those, Mama Jan. Let's go back and have a look. Let's recap on the 3 things that I have and the 3 things that you've listed for moving in. So I'm going to start with mine. And so number 1, spiritual.
Yeah.
Spirituality, doubling down with your relationship with God.
Yep.
Number 2, human relationships, which is my relationships and reaching out to people, reaching out to friends, family, community, and everyone else, having that human touch. And then number 3, like you said, is that self-analysis, that reflection of self. Look back and see what was working in 2020 and what needs to be changed for 2021, and what from 2020 can come through to 2021. So
strengthening your own relationship with your own self.
That's it. Strengthening my personal relationship with you.
Yeah, there you go. I like that a lot. Well, my top 3 that I was focusing on was number 1, surrender to God and fight the good fight. And number 2 was to be flexible by casting all my anxiety on him. That's how I'm going to do that. And number 3 was to keep on keeping on and yet pivot when needed so that we can always bear glory for God. So between your 3 and my 3, I think we're on the same pathway and we're going to finish 2021. Start it and finish it. Epic.
Start it and finish it. I think those are 6 great points for Epic Conquerors to review and see what resonates with them. And it's a good baseline to go back and review, take a snapshot of your life and see what worked for you in 2020 and what do you feel you really need to address and put some attention and intention and focus on to changing for 2020. And like I said, for me personally, I just felt that every time that I was in relationship with God, you're always in relationship with God. When I really felt connected, things felt good and everything felt great and things felt like they were moving in the right direction. But when I allowed that relationship to drift a little bit, that despair and that just heaviness came on. So that's what ignited me to get this list put together. So I think everyone should just, Epic Conquerors, take a look at your life and just reflect and see what you need to do.
Yeah, and even maybe as a family or with your significant others or your kids, this would be great to take some of these points and talk to your kids about it, and let them vent on what 2020 was like for them and how can they better themselves and their relationships with themselves and God and others into 2021, so it gets them to thinking properly and set their course for 2021 in a better direction, because we don't want to, like you said, drag 2020 into this one. Let's just cut that one off and start a new page here. So I think that's great. Well, if we had to choose a weapon for this episode, Chad, there's so many things to pick from. What do you think would be? I know what I'm going to choose for my weapon. I'll tell you that. And I'm going to choose one of yours. And it's deep communication. Deep communication. I think that's such a powerful weapon, because that's where really, to use a cliche, the heart of the matter comes forward and you really get to have the truth revealed. And truth is where our strength really lies. So deep communication, that's a weapon actually that we don't use so often, sadly. And we should use it more, because it really gives us a strength to draw from.
Deep communication. I was going to use the weapon that I was going to highlight was going to be reflection. So reflecting on yourself, reflecting on your relationship with God, reflecting on your walk, on your journey, just doing this, just sitting back and reflecting on everything.
And that's what happens when you have deep communication. So
there you go.
Two-edged sword.
Those deep communications lead you to deep reflection.
That's right. I like that so much. And out of that comes such healing, which brings strength and comfort and joy, and all of those wonderful good feels come out of all of that. So powerful weapons. I think our power affirmation that we could use for this episode is, I am growing in God, because let this be a year of tremendous growth, right? I am growing in God. So what do you think of that as a power affirmation?
I love it. Let's do it, Mama Jan.
Okay, so everybody, we know how we do. I am epic, because that's our battle cry, because everything is possible in Christ. Thank the Lord for that. And then our power affirmation, I am growing in God. So we're not going to stagnate. We're not going to withdraw. We're going to grow. We're going to stretch out and go forward. So here we go. Drum roll, everybody. 1, 2, 3. I am epic. And I am growing in God.
In God.
Yes, I am. Whoa.
Yes, you are.
Let me flex my muscles and show you my spiritual faith muscles. Yes, that's awesome. Well, if we had to just pick one little thought out of this episode today, Chad, what do you think would be the one thought to pull forward and go, whoop, that's it?
Mama J, your number 3, the point number 3 jumps right out at me. It says, keep keeping on and be ready to pivot when needed. 2020, I almost said 2023, but 2021.
Okay, well, we're really on the fast track here.
I think coming out of that, I think it's almost like a mantra, just believing, just keeping on, because at the end of the day, like you said, the battle is real, but a victory is assured.
Yes.
And we know right now that God's got this. So all we have to do is keeping on, keep moving forward, but be aware and be wise and be discerning. And if you really seek that relationship, be open to hear from God when he says, hey, take a left there instead of just keep walking off the cliff.
Yeah, so good. And let him get your hands off don't make him have to pry them loose, to get you to let go of something, because the world changes at such a fast pace. And so we want to be able to pivot and change and be open to new things that God has for us, because he's not done with his creative genius either, right? And he's got a lot more he can download to us as well, if we're open to it and willing to pivot. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Thanks, Chad, for wrapping that up so beautifully. And Epic Conquerors, as we go into 2021, we just want to thank you for your epicness to listen to our podcast and love them like you do, and share that with us, how you love them, because that really energizes us. We appreciate it so much. And thanks for being in our Epic Conquerors Facebook community, where we get to talk and share and chat in there, and that's really a lot of fun. So we just appreciate your support so much. And going to our epicwinforyou.com to find the show notes, listen to previous episodes that you might want to see, and visit our YouTube channel. Oh my goodness, there's just so many ways we can get connected and stay epic strong all the way through 2021. No matter what happens, we're going to do epic.
Well, with that, Mom and Dad, I think we come to the end of this podcast, and unfortunately, it's that time where we have to, say what?
Already? Oh, okay, everybody. God richly bless you. Be amazingly epic as you go forward in the weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday. And on that note, we're going to say
ciao
for now.